Use the force. So, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. First off, I'm going to start off by saying one or two things. There's two things. One, this is going to be like my style of review I do for movies, theater, movies I go to see in the theater. We'll have a non-spoiler section, we'll have a spoiler section. So, spoilers after my rating. 2, this movie does not deserve a rotten rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Alright? 58%, whatever it says, does not deserve it. And I knew going into it. All the trailers look very good. And I think... See, I never understood the hate for Last Jedi, to be honest. Yeah, there was some decisions, and watch my review for my opinions, but the biggest thing is that there was that lull in the middle where, Finn and Rose are on that planet trying to find the hacker. That's where it kind of stopped. And there was mostly not much action in it. This one, definitely action. From beginning to end, there was action. There's some talking, but not as much as The Last Jedi. And there's definitely, a lot more action storytelling in this one than the previous installment. To me, and I know it might seem odd, and people might disagree, but I think this is the best of the sequel trilogy. There are some problems with it, and I'll get into that. But to me, it seemed like, Force Awakens was basically a rehash of A New Hope. The Last Jedi left a sour taste in people's mouths, even though I don't think it's that bad. J.J. Abrams never should have left. And that's the problem with some things. Bryan Singer, people might have problems with him, but when he was directing the X-Men films, they were all right. X-Men, X2, great films. He leaves and gives the third film to Brett Ratner. It fails. Now he produces First Class, and it does great. Then he comes back and he directs Days of Future Past and Apocalypse. Apocalypse was controversial. Not many people liked it. I thought it was okay. I thought it was decent. Then he leaves. And then we get Dark Phoenix. So I think the problem, even though it kind of works with the way this film goes and the way they took, some of the things that people thought, like Rey's lineage and the lightsaber and the connections to Force Awakens, where they said, oh, Rian Johnson just threw them away because he doesn't care. Well, I had heard rumors that Rian Johnson had nothing to do with it. Like, that this was the plan from the beginning, that what happened with Rey's lineage in the second, in The Last Jedi and everything was leading to something. And it does. Without going into spoilers, it does lead to something. And, without going into spoilers, it's going to, I think it's going to divide the audience. One side will be like, okay, yeah, alright. The other side will be like, no, why would you do that? That's not right. For me, I'm kind of in the middle on it. Where I think, at first, I was like, no, come on. And then, now, seeing where the conclusion went to with the conclusion of it, I think it worked out okay. And I'll get to that in my spoiler part. There's also less Rose, which is always good. I thought the inclusion of her was forced in the last one, and luckily they don't try to continue that love kind of thing between her and Finn. She does seem to worry about him, which is okay, you know. They're friends, they work together, they're on the same team. But she's not in it as much as she was in the last one, and she's not forced, no pun intended, onto us like she was in the last one. Also, in my positives, I gotta say, this one feels the most like a true Star Wars film. Because you actually have them all working together. Much like in Return of the Jedi. But when you have the team, you have Rey, Finn, Poe, BB-8, C-3PO. This new little droid, which I don't remember its name, but it's not really that important. It sort of is, because it kind of helps them out towards the end, but it's, the droid, whatever. They're all working together. And there was that line in the trailer, this isn't really a spoiler, where you see C-3PO just looking around, and Poe says, "What are you doing, 3PO?" And he says, "Taking one last look, sir, at my friends." And that, as soon as I saw that trailer, I'm like, oh, something's going to happen to 3PO. And it does, but it doesn't. Like, it's not what people think it's going to be. He doesn't die, I'll tell you that much. That's not really a spoiler. It sort of is, but, well, one, he's a droid. They can just repair him. They've done it before. He chopped in half, but it's not what it led to be. I'm not going to go into specifics until I get to the spoiler section, but is that one thing I can tell you, because this is kind of ruined by the trailers anyway, is that Palpatine is back. I won't tell you how until we get to the spoilers, but he is back. And I'll just say this, it's not a spoiler, but if you've read the books, like the extended universe books, they sort of took from that. At least I've never read them, but I have a friend who has read them, and he told me about what happens in the extended media books. And it's very similar to what they did with Palpatine in this film and how he's back. I'll just say that. Leia, now, going into this, I don't know if it makes it seem like she's still alive. Like, Carrie Fisher didn't die. It's what it feels like. I don't know if she ever filmed anything for this before she passed away. I don't think so. But it doesn't seem... I mean, it says that they were going to use unused footage and stuff. And at points, she does look a little CGI-ish. But, for the most part, it's like you can't really tell that she's gone. It's like she was there, she filmed the movie. Pardon me. Pardon drinking, I'm sorry. It's just, Lando. Scott, from the beginning I wanted Lando to come back. Is he used well in this? I think so. When they first meet him, he's kind of in a position where he's kind of done. But then he's brought back in, and he does help out, as you see in the trailers. He's in the Falcon, And he does have a connection within the story of this trilogy and why he is where he is when they find him. And that also connects Rey's family together. I'm trying to... It does lead to the big space battles, of course, and a new weapon created by Palpatine that, without going into spoilers, can do some serious damage. And that's where people are going to be like, well, wait, we've seen that before, this and that, and this and that, and we've seen it in the original trilogy with this thing, and I'll get into spoilers with that, and I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, but it's different. This is not, it's different from what we've had before in a different sort of way. there's this subplot with a spy within the First Order. And when it's revealed, it's kind of obvious who it is. And I'll get to that in spoilers, of course. But, like, when it's revealed, you're like, okay, kind of figured. And then what happens after that, it's just like, what was the point? Kylo Ren's story in this is concurrent with Rey's story. They kind of go, you know, they've been connected since the last film. That connection is still there even though Snoke is dead. I don't know if Palpatine is doing it, or if it's just the Force itself, or if it's Kylo Ren doing it, but there is still that connection where, you know, and it's still, Kylo cannot see where she is. And it comes in handy at one point until he figures out, you know, where she is. But, yeah, you know, there are some cameos in there that I'll talk about. Spoiler. I'm kind of running out of stuff, non-spoiler stuff to talk about, because this is just, it's Star Wars. But yeah, this movie is not as bad as Rotten Tomatoes is putting out to be. When it comes to Rotten Tomatoes, they should close down, because they've been wrong on a few films. Like, now, you're not going to agree with me on most of these, but like the Ghostbusters reboot, the female one, it's not that bad. What was the other one? Suicide Squad. It's not as bad as Rotten Tomatoes puts it down, alright? And this one, of course. Rotten Tomatoes is notorious for giving good, you know, decent films, I'll say. Decent films, rotten scores. And I never understood that. Why wouldn't... I never put any stock in Rotten Tomatoes to begin with. It's just like, okay, so some people are saying that that movie is terrible. Well, don't listen to those people. Listen to what you think, right? Right? Obviously, you guys care about my opinion. You're watching this, you know, 58%. If I remember 58 or 53, one of the two. I can't, but 58%. No. It's at least it should be fresh. Should be at least a 75 to 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it should be certified fresh. Because this movie is not a bad movie. All right. I know that some people might say, "Oh, this, and that," and be picky about certain plot points, and which I'll get to spoilers in just a minute. But it's not that bad. So for my score, I thought about this on the walk home, and I think a good score to give this would be a 7. 8. Forget that. I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Because like I said, it's probably lower than, you know, the rating, but it's probably lower than Force Awakens. I can't remember what I gave it, but for me, it is the best of the sequel trilogy. And yeah, I don't get the Rotten Tomatoes score. I just don't. I went in thinking that, oh, it's going to be, you know, I went in with low expectations because of that score. I'm like, you know, I gotta think that it's not going to be like that, and it wasn't. But I just had, oh, what if there's something? And there is a couple things that made me go, eh. But other than that, no, it doesn't deserve the Rotten Tomatoes scores. Now, this is your warning. I'm going to go into spoilers now, all right? So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter. Throwing that out there right now. A couple months ago, a thing came out. I saw this thing on Facebook where there's a rumor thing or something where saying that Rey is going to be Palpatine's granddaughter. People are like, oh, I hope not. That's stupid. And I'm like, no, that can't be true. It doesn't make any sense. Because Palpatine never had any children. Apparently, he had a son. Where the hell was he during the prequel trilogy? I mean, think about it, Palpatine was already old during the prequel trilogy. So, shouldn't she technically be his great-granddaughter? Because you're like, if Palpatine was old during the first trilogy, or the prequel trilogy, and that goes through, and then there's at least, 17 years between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, and then we get 30 plus years between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. She should be his great-granddaughter. Just to think about it, because, like, you gotta put those years together. 17, 35, plus how many years it was between the original trilogy films and these films. Together, it could be almost 45, 50 years. Maybe close to 45 years, if you think about it. But, you know, I don't know, it was weird. You know, it's a movie. You gotta try not to think too hard or you get a headache. Well, here it is. But yeah, I was hoping they weren't gonna go that way. Because when I heard that that's the rumor, I'm like, no, don't do that. And then other rumors are like, oh, it's going to be revealed that she's a Skywalker and she's going to save the day. She is the Rise of Skywalker. And I'm like, no, don't do that. You got to do it with Kylo Ren. He's the only Skywalker left, so he has to be the one. Because I knew that Leia, because it's stock footage, whatever, wasn't going to be too prominent. She's in there, don't get me wrong. She dies partway through the film. But it's Force death. Like, she becomes a Force ghost, eventually. But it's weird that she dies, and you can see her shape of the body on the table, but she doesn't Force ghost until, like, the very end of the movie. And that's almost like 45 minutes after she's died. And who knows how, you know, in real time, like, in their time, how long that's actually been. Because in our time, in our time, it's 45 minutes. But there, it could have been days, bro. Feel weird. But yeah, and the whole C-3PO thing, they need to decipher this dagger, which C-3PO can translate, but it's in the Sith language, and he's forbidden from translating Sith language. So they take it to this planet that Poe knows someone from, and that's Kerry Russell's character is on there. You don't ever see her face. You just see her eyes at one point, but you never see her face. And you feel like she's sort of a love interest for Poe, but you don't get anywhere. Like at the end, after everything is said and done, she's standing there. She nods at him, and he's like, and going into this, everyone's saying, "Oh, Poe, they're gonna make Poe and Finn a gay couple." I'm like, and rewatching at least Force Awakens, I'm like, I could see how they could do that because they're like, I'm like, but don't do that. And it didn't. Thank God. There was this scene where they hugged, and I'm like, don't kiss him, because no. But no, nothing like that. And I'm not against that, gay couples or whatever. But it would feel forced. No pun intended again. So, in the trailers, we see that there's the Death Star. And I didn't know whether it was the original Death Star or the second Death Star, and it is the second Death Star destroyed in Return of the Jedi. Now, they're after this thing. I forget what it's called, but it's this little cylinder type thing. Cylinder, cone type thing. And there's only 2 of them left. And there's this ship that they found, and it's the same ship that Rey's parents went away on. And that's what leads her to Palpatine. and right away, like in the opening crawl, it tells you Palpatine is alive. Basically, it says there is a radio message sent out by a voice that sounds just like Palpatine, and that basically tells you, well, Palpatine is the main villain of this whole thing. Palpatine is the villain of all 3 trilogies. Think about that. He's the villain of the original trilogy, the villain of the prequel trilogy, and the villain of the sequel trilogy. He is the villain. Now they come back. Well, like I said, in extended media or whatever, they cloned him. And they show there's a bunch of Snoke clones as well. And I can only assume, they never specifically spelled it out, but I can only assume that that means that Snoke was a failed clone of Palpatine. Which could make sense. But they never specifically tell us in one way or the other. You just see a bunch of Snoke clones there. And he said, I created Snoke. So, but you never, know if she's actually from Palpatine or if it's original creation. You don't know. And here's the one thing that's probably going to divide me. Going into this, like I said, I wanted Kylo Ren from the beginning to be swayed to the good side. Vader never really got that chance. He sort of did, but then he died right afterwards. And here, they did the same fucking thing. But it works until the end of the film. Then it's just like, So, there is this fight on the planet that has the Death Star between Rey and Kylo Ren. And Leia uses the last of her life to sway Kylo Ren against the Last Order, just like he stops, she dies, and they both feel it, and then Rey stabs him with his own lightsaber, and I screamed out, no! Because I wanted his redemption, right? Well, apparently you can heal using the Force now. I don't remember that ever being a thing in the previous films, but okay. I mean, there's been Force healing in video games, but I don't ever remember it being a thing in the other films. Maybe the J.J. Abrams, they just wrote it in there. Oh, she needs to stay healing him because he can't die. Don't write the scene then. So after that, he sort of denounces his Kylo Ren name. Well, at the beginning, you see him fix his mask, and I kind of liked it because he's got this red, where they put it back together, there's just red, lines and stuff. That's pretty cool. But he denounces his Kylo Ren name, and he becomes Ben Solo once again after a talk with a Han Solo Force Ghost. He doesn't look like a Force Ghost, though, because later we see Luke as a Force Ghost talking to Rey, and he looks like a Force Ghost. But Han, maybe it's just, a connection with the Force. That would talk to him, and it mirrors, he says, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. And, Han says, you do. And he throws his lightsaber into the water. I was like, yeah. And then Rey goes to whatever the planet is to take down Palpatine. And then he shows up. And there's a standoff that I wish would have went another way. When he gets there, because we get to see the Knights of Ren in this one. And they're badass. And when he gets there, they all surround him. And I wanted, because he's sort of their leader, right? I wanted them to sort of look like they're going to attack him and then just bow their heads. And the Knights of Ren are going to come in and they're going to attack all of Palpatine's guards or whatever. It doesn't happen that way. They immediately start to attack him, which I was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. He's been your like your leader for how long, and you're just gonna turn against him just because he's not. I don't know. For me, it would have been better if they went with him, but of course they gotta have Rey and Ben now challenge Palpatine, and they do, but there's a connection, and it sort of heals Palpatine, their connection or whatever, and then Palpatine just like hurls. Because there's this thing, I'm going to tell you, there's a scene earlier, and there's something I didn't like about this too. We'll get to that, I guess. But like, hurls Kylo Ren and he lands somewhere else. There's a scene earlier that is one of the things I don't like about this. So they're on this planet, and they get ready to leave, but Rey senses something, and Poe sends Chewie out to get Rey, and we don't see what happens to him. We just see this transport taking off, and Finn comes out and says, Rey, they've got Chewie. So Rey tries to stop it with her hand, and Kylo, or Ben, whatever, Kylo tries to pull it with his hand, and it ends up she puts out Sith lightning, like Force lightning, whatever it's called, out and destroys the thing. And I was just like, oh my god, they killed off Chewbacca. And then they killed off Leia later, but it's just like, oh my god. Only to then find out that it was the wrong transport and Chewbacca is alive and well, and so is the dagger. What was the point of that? Just to show that she has Force lightning? And right then I was just like, oh, they're going to do it, aren't they? They're going to say she's Palpatine's granddaughter. I hope not. But they do. Even though, just because she has Force lightning, it's not an inherited trait. You have to learn it. Anakin had Force lightning. He learned it. He wasn't related to Palpatine, but he could use Force lightning. The character in the video games, The Force Unleashed, had Force lightning, I believe. And he wasn't related to Palpatine. So just because she did that doesn't necessarily mean she's related to Palpatine. She is his granddaughter somehow. But doesn't mean she has to have Force lightning. I'm just saying. And all to kill Chewie, but Chewie's not really dead. And then they do this thing where to get 3PO to read to translate the dagger, they have to erase his memory, and they do, so he doesn't remember any of them, so it's kind of sad. But then once R2 meets up with him again, he just beep, beep, boop, and puts his memory back. And he remembers everything except for when they went on their quest, which doesn't make any sense, but okay. And I'm sitting there going, so what was the point of that? There's two things that just kind of you go back on. It's like, oh, he's not going to be the same 3PO because he doesn't remember anything. And then, beep, boop, R2! What was the point of that? Chewbacca's dead. And no, he's not dead because they show... I don't know. And like I said, there's a traitor, a mole, a spy within the First Order. It's Hux. Obvious that it was Hux. As soon as I'm like, it's got to be Hux, right? And it was. It was Hux. General Hux. And they reveal that he's this, and he's like, you got to shoot me in the arm. Make it look like I got, they can't know I'm a traitor. So they shoot him in the leg. And then only for the other guy, by Richard E. Grant, to just kill him. What was the point of that revelation? He's a spy. Okay, he's dead now. Kind of hoping he would do something in the end and help but no, just dead. And now we'll get to the ending. So, something I did like, by the way. So like I said, Kylo Ren is flung, or Ben is flung away. And, like, all the energy has been basically taken out of Rey. And she's laying there. And all of a sudden, she starts hearing voices of past Jedi. Luke, Leia, Qui-Gon. I think Obi-Wan was in there. Yoda. All past Jedi. I could recognize most of the voices. Some of them. Talking to her. She gets... By the way, there are 2 lightsabers in play now. There's Luke's lightsaber, and there's Leia's lightsaber. Apparently, Luke was training her until she said that she saw her death, that being a Jedi would lead to her death. So she stopped. But she still died anyway. Or her son's death, or whatever. One of the 2. And, but she gets the lightsaber and she's using it, and she's got the Force lightning coming out. And he's like, "You cannot stop me. I am the embodiment of all Sith. I have the power of all the Sith." And then she goes and grabs the other lightsaber and goes, "I have the power of all the Jedi." And she just burns the hell out of him. And then she falls down. I'm like, oh, they're killing her off. Okay. And Kylo Ren's probably dead too. All of a sudden, hand comes over. He comes over to her, holds her in his arms. And earlier, after she stabbed him, like I said, she healed him. So he heals her, even though, I don't know if you can heal being dead, but he basically uses the Force to heal her. They kiss, which I was just like, okay, sure. Kind of thought she was going to be with Poe. Or Finn. But okay. And then he Force dies. I'm like, yeah, I was a little disappointed in that, because I was just like, why is it when anyone has a redemption, they have to die? Luke got his redemption, he died. Leia got her redemption, she died. Han Solo tried to get redemption, he died. Just Vader had a redemption, he died. Why do they have to write it where you can have your redemption, but you gotta die? I didn't want him to die. I wanted a scene where Rey landed, she goes back to by her own. She lands, and she walks out, and they're all happy to see her, and then he walks out, and just stands there, and they're unsure of what to do. I wanted that scene, but I'm never going to get that scene because they killed him off. That's what kind of... Just like, why does he have to die? With the Force, he's not really dead. He comes with Force Ghost. And we'll talk about that, because that kind of just... He does the Force Ghost out death thing, and then we never really see anything come of that. I'll talk about it when we get to the end. So, there's this big battle going on, space battle, like I said, and they have to take out... They have these... Next, they have something else that can destroy something else. They have these big Star Destroyer-like things that are planet killers. So it's like the Death Star and the Star Killer base and a Star Destroyer. And there's this antenna that they can destroy it. If you control it, they destroy it, then they won't be able to use the stuff. So they launch an attack on the antenna, and they destroy it, but it powers down. They power it down and transfer it to another one on the Star Destroyer. I'm like, but what? They said that's the only thing they could... They said it. That's the only thing that controls the thing. They didn't say they had another one. They said that's the only one. But then they have another one, and I was just like, isn't that kind of cheating? They say that's the only one. Oh, another one. It's like... But eventually they do destroy it, and they win the war. And they all congregate back on the planet. You see the Ewoks there for a second. You know, celebrate. Nick, nug, nug, whatever. And this is getting kind of long. And we'll get to the end. They all come together. All three of them hug, which I was like, okay. I get Poe and Rey and Poe, or not Poe, Poe and Finn, maybe Finn and Rey, maybe Finn and Poe, but all three of them hugging. I never thought Poe and Rey were that close, but the hug. And Lando does come. There's a scene, you know, in The Last Jedi when they needed help, no one came, and so they sent Lando out to get help, and they think no one has come, but he got like everybody there to help take down the First Order, and they do, like I said. So after this big old thing, and they recongregate, we then switch to Rey on Tatooine. She goes to Luke's old house, which looks a lot better than it did in A New Hope. When it was trashed, you think it'd be a little more destroyed, but... And she takes the two lightsabers, she wraps them up, and she buries them in the sand there. And there's this person that comes to her to talk to her. And she says her name or whatever, and she says, "What's your name?" She goes, "My name is Rey." And I'm like, don't do it. You can't do it. It's going to diminish the entire film. The whole journey for Kylo Ren is going to diminish it if she says it. And she says, "Rey who?" And she looks over, and the Force ghosts of Luke and Leia are standing there. And she says, "Ray Skywalker." I went, nope, you can't do that. You can't do that. What she should have done, she should have owned up to her name. Palpatine. I know Rise of Skywalker, it didn't need to be Rey. Yes, Ben had his redemption story, and he saved her. But I feel like Disney is trying to push a female empowerment message down our throats. Yes, she's a strong female lead, but in the first two movies of this trilogy, I never caught anything to insist in female empowerment. And now, after the release of Aladdin, all of a sudden, Disney is just female empowerment everywhere. Disney, just movies everywhere are trying to do it, I guess, but I'm not against it. Like I said, I'm not against it. But I felt like, Kylo Ren was the last Skywalker. She's not, by blood, Skywalker. So for her to stand there and say her name is Skywalker, while it could mean something in spirit, it completely shits all over Kylo Ren. It should have been his redemption story at the end. That should have been. It shouldn't be about her. Yes, she's a main character. She needs to own up to the Palpatine name. She should take the Palpatine name and try to make it something good. Not just say, "Oh, I'm a Skywalker now." No. You can't do that. I won't accept that. Alright? No. Just no. Like I said, I like this movie, I give it an 8. But no. That ending just kind of... I sat there for a few minutes just like... I don't know what I think about that ending. And I thought about it walking back home. And I'm like, you know what? No, I didn't like that. I didn't like that ending at all. I didn't like it. No. They didn't... They could have cut that part off and just had them hug, right? And come to a swell, and then dun 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 dun, something like that. But it ends after she does that. You get the sunset, and then her and BB-8, and then it comes through swell and dun 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 dun. That was okay, but it's one thing that they made her a Palpatine, and I've kind of accepted that. But then she needs to take that name and make it something good, not just ignore it and say, "Oh, I'm a Skywalker." No. You know, if they had established that she was a Palpatine in the second film, and she would have to come to grips with that, and then this film is all about, you know, coming to grips with that, and then also have Kylo Ren coming to grips with you know, being a Skywalker. He is a Skywalker. That's what pissed me off. It's going into this movie, I knew they were going to mess it up with his character. He needed to have a bigger redemption story. It doesn't have to always be about this. It's called the Skywalker Saga, right? So he should have been the ultimate hero because he is a Skywalker. To just have him die to save someone who's not a Skywalker, and then for her to just say, "Oh, I'm a Skywalker." No, go to hell. All right, no. The more I talk about it, the more I get pissed off. But like I said, it's 8 out of 10. It's a good movie. But that ending pissed me off. I don't know if other people will be pissed off by this. I haven't watched any reviews. I'm going to so I get done. But that's just, you know, no. You're not a Skywalker, lady. Okay? You're not. I'll never accept that. You're a Palpatine. Own that. Alright? Hold on. Alright, I can't talk anymore. I'm going to get pissed. So what are your thoughts on Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you.